O fount of love, divine that flows from my Savior's bleeding side, where sinners trade their filthy rags for His righteousness applied.
Well, I had never heard the term One Focus until 2 years ago when we first started coming to BridgeWay, and Scotty Sanders told us about it.
It's an approach to thinking about how I might be able to engage in the life of someone, a friend, an acquaintance that's lost and needs Jesus.
I think One Focus is a chance to be what BridgeWay claims to be, what we talk about being day in and day out as a staff, which is to be a church without walls, to reach out to people who don't know Christ, to reach out to people outside of just our regular scope of, where we are here as a church.
I think One Focus means that you're going to have one person in your life who you're trying to present the gospel to, who is unsaved, but also has some yearning for the gospel, has some interest in it.
Pray first. How we can, from praying, then you can feel God. This is important key for me.
The prayer is needed. Prayer is what it's going to take, and the support of others is what it's going to take to get us where we need to be.
Mine would be more just talking to God, probably in that Russ would be open to the gospel. That probably was the single biggest thing for me.
So my focus one is how can I help them to know you have a good relationship with Jesus or with God. You can have a rejoice for life, just like that. Very simple one. Like
So I just began to visit with him a little bit, and developed a little bit of a relationship with him, and visited him in Waco when he was in the hospital, and also helped him out with some stuff. And I think we could develop a little bit of camaraderie and personal relationship. And from there, one thing led to another. I witnessed to him 2 or 3 times.
We just invited them to ride with us up to Oklahoma to get the piece of furniture. So we spent 8 hours in the truck with them, just having great conversations, and I learned more about him and his background and his spiritual walk and where he was spiritually by spending that time with him.
She asked quite a few questions, and she told me that she is a Buddhist, and that she believes when she dies, then that is the end of it. Well, from that point on, she seemed to be a lot more interested in how I could have that kind of hope and assurance, not only for my mother, but for me.
And so over the course of several weeks, we were able to engage with this teenager, and then she became a Christian, and as well as 2 others became Christians at the same time.
He began to open up, he began to ask some questions about the gospel. He'd been very hostile to the gospel all of his life. It was kind of a funny scenario because Russ had never been to church in his life. I mean, never. And so when he asked that, he said, what do I wear exactly? And I said, well, Russ, anything's fine. And so he pressed a shirt the next night and everything else, and was real concerned about with that. And I said, yeah, if you're not dressed just right, Art will probably throw you out. But
we had a lot of time to talk, and then probably 3 years later, I was able to see her family not only recommit to Jesus, but her daughter to actually be commit to him and be baptized.
And I went in to talk to him one day, and have you decided to accept Christ as your personal Savior? And Russ said, yes, I'm accepting Christ as my personal Savior. And that was like 48 hours before, and then Russ died.
It's hardly ever just me. It's always me and a lot of other people who care enough and put their little part in that many eventually become Christians.
Celebrate those small steps toward the broader goal of sharing the gospel.
Care about them as a person. You develop a relationship of where they are and where they're coming from so you can reach them.
I only give them key is keep your mind simple. Keep your heart simple. Then God's voice will come.